Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So, in the past week, we have probably had two of the best basketball performances we had ever seen. Now, a lot of times when we get performances like Luka Doncic and his 60-point, 20-rebound triple-double, a lot of times those things come in a loss. I'm not sure why, but back in the day, like when Wilt Chamberlain and a lot of guys, even Michael Jordan's crazy 60-point game against the Celtics, a lot of times those come in losses. However, in the past week and a half, we have had two of the greatest basketball performances I think, at least I've ever gotten to see in my lifetime. Luka Doncic put up 60 points and 20 rebounds and ended up getting, one of the from what is said to be the greatest game in NBA history. And then not even a week later, Donovan Mitchell scores 71 points on 64% from the field, and I think 46% from three and 80% from the free throw line. And this kind of leads up to a topic that I was posting in my community tab on YouTube about a month ago. And it really has nothing so much to do with what I posted, but it more so has to do with the talent of NBA players these days, because I'm just going to say this. The training, just everything, the medicine, how do I word this? Society has advanced so far in the past 10, 15 years that, players that can do these type of things now are not really far-fetched or uncommon. Now, I think we all know back in the day, had they allowed Kobe Bryant to take 40 or 50 shots a game, he could have scored 100 points. There's a couple guys back in NBA history that you look at, and it's if you gave them the opportunity, they could probably score 100 points. Kobe Bryant's a guy that comes to mind. Tracy McGrady's a guy that comes to mind. Kevin Durant is a guy that comes to mind. Steph Curry is a guy that comes to mind. We're getting into a time in the NBA where, honestly, man, I think this is peak NBA. And it feels so weird saying that, but talent-wise, I don't think the NBA has ever been this talented. You know what I'm saying? We got guys like Jason Tatum out there scoring it, at insane rates. I feel like we see 40-point games now way more often than we see even 30-point games. Don't get me wrong, players are still out here scoring, 30 points and 20 points. But, back in the day, it was kind of if you were a 20-point per game scorer or, a 22-point per game scorer, you were an all-star, okay? You were going to the all-star game. Nowadays, it seems almost like you have to score in the 26 to 28 point per game category in order to make the All-Star game or even be in consideration for it. And even that really sometimes feels like it depends on how good of a record does your team have. And I think that speaks volumes to where the NBA has come. I posted in my community tab about a month ago, getting into this, that the 50-40-90 statistic is becoming less impressive as time goes on. And not to say that it's not an impressive metric. Obviously, it still is. It's very hard to do. There's really only a handful of guys in NBA history that have really been able to achieve that statistic. I think Kevin Durant did it once. Kyrie Irving did it, I think, last year. Malcolm Brogdon did it. Larry Bird did it, I think, 3 times. Steve Nash did it multiple times. Reggie Miller did it once. And I think that's about where the train stops on the 50-40-90 club. But we're seeing more and more as time goes on, players that are capable of doing these types of things. I'd say Nikola Jokic is a guy that is I think, capable of doing that. Kevin Durant's a guy that's capable of doing that. Steph Curry, I think, even did it once or has come close multiple times to doing it. And it's just for me, all the things that we used to think growing up that were impressive are slowly becoming less and less impressive as time goes on. Not to say that these things still aren't impressive. It's just the idea that the frequency at which we see them is going to continue to increase. Granted, Donovan Mitchell scored 71 with Evan Mobley and Darius Garland not being in the lineup. They were sitting out, and Donovan Mitchell just had free reign to just shoot as many fucking shots as he wanted. That was obviously the game plan. And honestly, I don't care who you are, man. Putting up 70 points is hard. Donovan Mitchell scored 71 points, which is the second most for the 21st century, okay? Meaning the guy who was in first is Kobe Bryant, okay? And unfortunately, God rest his soul, he's not around anymore. And I just think to myself, man, the more that time goes on, like, Luka Doncic at some point in his career is probably going to score 70, okay? It's going to happen. He's going to have one night where he just goes absolutely fucking bonkers, and he's going to score 70. Devin Booker has already scored 70. Who else? Donovan Mitchell scored 70. Like, there's going to be nights where guys go off like this, and it's going to get not as common, but it's definitely going to become more and more common as time goes on. Jason Tatum's a guy that I could see doing it. Like, Steph Curry's a guy that maybe before he retires I could see. Like, I don't know. Like, Damian Lillard's a guy that's capable of it. Like, there's a lot of guys in the NBA that are capable of doing that. And I just think to myself, man, back when I was a kid, there was maybe only a handful of guys that we could say that about, you know? Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, LeBron, you know, in his prime, I think, you know, granted, he didn't have much of a jump shot until he was at, like, you know, the Miami Heat, and, like, we know, like, LeBron wasn't going to score 70 or, like, 60 or whatever, but, like, we knew, like, if he got the shot attempts, like, he was capable of doing it. And there's a lot of guys, like Anthony Davis, you know, like prime Anthony Davis was a guy that was like, if he just, he was a guy who had free reign to do whatever the fuck he wanted when he played for New Orleans, okay? But like, had he developed like in his prime, to be fair, Anthony Davis was a stat sheet stuffer. Like, if you drafted him in your fantasy leagues back in like the early, I'd say like early 2010s or like anywhere from 2013 to like 2016, like there was a strong chance you were gonna win your fantasy team just by taking Anthony Davis. And Giannis is a guy I don't think has the capability of scoring 70, just because he lacks a jump shot. But like, Anthony Davis, or even, you know, you never know, Giannis could get hot one night and nobody could stop him. You know, like, there's just a lot of really, really talented players in the NBA right now. And as somebody who's a strict lover of, like, 90s basketball, and, like, I know I'm 28, but, like, when I was a kid, my dad loved Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, okay? Like, those were his two favorite players without question. And my dad had like tape recordings of most of those games and stuff like that. Like, my dad recorded like every fucking game they had ever played. And like, as a kid growing up, like, I got to see that, you know, like, granted, yeah, like, I didn't get to watch it live, but like, my dad, if he wanted to go to bed one night, might just throw a, you know, the Bulls versus the Celtics in, or, you know, the Bulls versus the Lakers, or the Celtics versus the Lakers, or the Celtics versus the Pistons. And like, I got to watch those games. And like, I always thought to myself, like, there will never be a greater era than, like, you know, late, like, I guess you could say, like, the 90s and 80s, and then, like, the early 2000s was pretty good. But we're at a point now, man, where it's kind of like we're just getting transcendent talent all the time. And it really leads me to think, like, how the game is going to evolve over the next 10 years. Because, like, I'm just going to call it, man, there's going to be a team, okay, and you can quote me on this. There's going to be a team one day that has a roster full of fucking demigods. And I think Oklahoma City is going to be the first team to achieve that. With the amount of draft picks that they have, you know, I think SGA is like 6'6", okay? He's pretty tall for a guy who gets to play point guard, or, you know, point guard slash shooting guard. But, like, they have Ousmane Dieng. They have Chet Holmgren. If they fuck around and get Victor Wembanyama, you're talking of a starting five where four of your guys are over 6'5", okay? And, like, I just think to myself, we got guys like Michael Porter Jr. coming into the NBA. Victor Wembanyama's coming into the NBA. Kevin Durant was really like the first transcendent guy who was like 6'11", 7 foot, who could dribble the ball and do all the things a guard can. But that's going to be a more prominent thing as time goes on, guys. And I hate to say it, but like, the day is going to come where like traditional NBA centers are going to be gone. Okay, like guys like even guys like Joel Embiid, and, you know, prime DeMarcus Cousins, and like they're gonna go away from guys like, you know, Jonas Valanciunas and guys like that, and they're gonna look for guys more around the archetype of guys like Anthony Davis. Okay, like guys who are 6'11", who can play defense, who can shoot, because that's where the NBA is heading. Like, if you look at the league now, there's not much guys can't do, okay? Like, guys are, like, these kids are coming up in high school and college and stuff like that. Like, look at Bol Bol, man. Like, guys like Bol Bol, even Mo Bamba. Like, Mo Bamba's a little stiff, like, a lot stiffer than Bol Bol. But, like, we're seeing it more and more. And it's going to become a thing. And actually, I would argue that in 10, probably 5 to 10 years, okay, in that time span, we're going to see a lot of centers, you know, doing a lot of the shit Kevin Durant does. And I know that that's wild to say, but, like, that's where the league is heading. And I don't know how much I actually enjoy that, because it would be a league entirely of all offense and no defense. Not that it's much of that now, but it's just the idea that's the direction the league is heading in. You're going to see guys like Joel Embiid, Jonas Valanciunas, Nikola Vucevic, okay, DeMarcus Cousins, even Nikola Jokic. Like, Nikola Jokic is very good. He's going to continue to be, like, a guy teams want, you know, even when the NBA goes in that direction. But it's just the idea, the days of a traditional NBA center like Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, and so, like, even Giannis, right? Like, Giannis plays power forward, but in the future of the NBA, he's going to be capable of playing center if he doesn't already play center. Like, when Brook Lopez's contract is over, guess where they're probably going to play Giannis? Okay? At the center position. So, I look at this and I just think, man, like, we're just getting a taste right now. That's what we're getting. We're getting a taste of what the future is. And I don't know, man. You know what? Like, I can't not be excited for it. You know what I'm saying? But, like, at the same time, it's like we're eventually going to get to a point where teams are all offense and no defense, man. And the teams that have the guys like Grant Williams, okay, Draymond Greens, Anthony Davises, okay, like, the Giannis's of the world, teams who have players like that who can play offense and defense, you know, not so much Draymond Green, but, you know, like, small ball is the way of the future, apparently. And I just think to myself, man, like, teams aren't, like, guys like Kristaps Porzingis are not going to be a part of the NBA's future. Like, think about it. A guy like Kristaps Porzingis could literally be a fucking bench player in 10 to 5 years, because they're 7 foot and, like, all they can do is block shots and shoot threes. Guys like Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. at some point in his career is going to have to develop the ability to dribble the fucking basketball. I don't know when it's going to come, but it's like, to not make him like a relegated bench player, okay, in his later days in his NBA career, he's going to have to, develop some type of ball handling ability. And I just think to myself, man, like, it sucks because, like, we'll never, I don't think we're ever going to get a chance to see a guy like Hakeem Olajuwon ever again, or a David Robinson ever again, or even a Shaquille O'Neal ever again, because they're not going to just be, guys in the dunker spot. Like, look at Rudy Gobert, man. Rudy Gobert's a guy who is like the fucking epitome of a traditional NBA center, and he plays on a team with guys that have no idea how to play with him. So, like, when I see stuff like that, and when I see teams like the Timberwolves, I just think to myself, there's no fucking way that the NBA is going to go back to that. Okay, like, it's just not going to happen. Guys are too talented. Okay, like, the league is just too small ball. Maybe when Steph Curry retires, I don't know, maybe we have, like, some fucking weird revolution, or a revelation in the league where it's suddenly, like, not every center has to be able to shoot threes. But, like, we're, like, even Naz Reid. Guys like Naz Reid is shooting 36% from three this year. Okay? Like, Jonas Valanciunas was a guy that didn't have a three-point shot when he first came into the league. Now he's out here shooting threes. So as time goes on, man, I just want people to understand, like, performances like this, okay, 60-20 triple-doubles and 71-point games and just 70-point games as a whole are going to continue to become a thing as offense slowly becomes more and more of the focus. And actually, I can't even say slowly, but rapidly becomes more and more of the focus, and defense becomes less of a thing. And you know what's crazy about that? Just to say this, okay? As much as offense is going to become a focus, okay, defense is going to be a luxury. I'm going to say that. Guys like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and Jason Tatum are going to have more value than you might ever be able to imagine in your life, because, it's going to be hard to find guys that are switchable like that. And, yeah, they're going to get into that eventually. Like guys like Chet Holmgren, Victor Wembanyama, they're going to be asked to guard maybe 1 through 5 at some point in their careers. And I see these things, man, and like it excites me, but it also frightens me because I'm gonna like, you know what? The next NBA super team is gonna be a five-man lineup of all demigod players, guys who are 6'5" and above or 6'6" and above, who can all dribble the basketball, who can all shoot the ball, who can all block shots, who can all rebound. Like, it's going to be a while before that comes, but the first team that I think is going to be able to do that will be the Oklahoma City Thunder, especially if they get Victor Wembanyama. Okay? I said this in a video in the past. Like, can you imagine a team with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, Ousmane Dieng, and Victor Wembanyama? Like, 3 guys that are all, 6'8" and above or 6'11" and above, who can all dribble the basketball to some extent, who can all shoot the ball to some extent. I mean, Victor Wembanyama, Ousmane Dieng, and Chet Holmgren are all guys capable of playing defense. How good they will be at it, we don't know. But the NBA is going in that direction, and I just want people to understand that. The stuff that we used to find impressive back in the day is no longer going to be impressive. And you know what, man? Can't say I'm super excited for it, but I'm here for it. So tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.